Well, hello there, this is Tamil, and today I'm going to go over how to paint sea animals and how to study them in general. So first of all, you can go in the description, there's going to be an article and it's going to be written and there's going to be more images in there. If you want to check that out instead of the video, feel free to do that as well. I usually go for inspiration and references, of course, trying to find animals that I want to paint. For example, sharks or turtles or medusas or octopuses are pretty safe bets if you want to learn and have fun. You can always look for more or find mythical animals that live under the sea to get even more inspired. So where do you find images and references like that? Just in general, you can go into 500px, which is a photography website, or you can go on Behance, which is another great website that has really good photography projects. And if you're really feeling lazy, you can always go on Pinterest, just create your own mood board, find animals that you prefer, save it in one place, and then after that you can just go into the recommended images and Pinterest will try its best to give you very similar pictures that you've picked. So for brushes, I will keep it pretty simple and short. For the sketching, I used a flat marker, which I believe almost every brush I'm using is coming at default at CSP. I really like flat marker because it doesn't let you make really strong strokes, and in a way it helps me because then I don't go into details and I try to keep my brush really big, which again helps to find bigger shapes and start blocking out the animal without getting too carried away. Also, for the tilt of the brush, I used the pen tilt, so if your tablet supports that, that's great. It really helps me to keep the sketching a bit more dynamic and looking more interesting. And after that, I usually create another layer and then I start drawing on top with a simple hard round brush. I just make a very small brush size and then I go over whatever sketch I've had before. There's nothing too complicated about it as well. It's just a transparent circle brush, and as you drag it, the harder you press, the more ink will come out, and I really like this feel of sketchiness. After that, I just use any textured brush that I find to create flats for the image, and there are different ways to do this, but for this one I used chalk. And I think for the most part, I was using chalk to make really rich in texture images. And then chalk brush was also kind of cool because it lets me smudge a little bit if I'm on the same layer. So I was painting a lot on all of the same layer once I created one for the color. A cool way to help you to paint is a color sphere. I'll probably make a separate video on this. It's really cool method and technique that I see a lot of people doing. So basically you look at the image and then you create a sphere that will basically mimic whatever you're trying to paint. In simple words, let's say there's light, very yellow at the top, and then there's some orange at the right top, and then there's blues at the very bottom. I will have a sphere and then I will try to shade it exactly like that, and it will help me to keep that in mind next to my painting as where the light is coming from, to help me not get away with like too many mistakes when I try to shade parts about my object. It could be like a shark or anything else. I just keep in mind the colors and where the light is coming from. Another tip, obviously you can add a background, but I know that background is very time consuming, and if you want to focus on the animal, it's gonna take a while for you to finish the background as well. So for this one, I actually just pretty much used an airbrush for the background, and I just slapped colors that I found from the reference and found more appropriate for this. And the only thing I can say is that for the background, I find darker parts for my object. For example, the bottom of the shell is blue and dark, and that's why I added a little bit of a glow behind there. And on the top, it's a little bit more bright, so I added a little bit of a darker background. So now it pops more, it looks more punchy, and just helps to stand out on the canvas. You can not include your background and just have like a flat color. That is fine too. So it's really up to you. But I just used a simple airbrush. I didn't use any foliage, nothing, and it looks a little bit muddy, but if you work on details on your animal, then it will just kind of be separate and feel more like the object is in the environment instead of just a flat canvas. And another thing that I can say is very huge important part is hue temperature changes. So very short, talked about this before, but if you're new or just like to watch only one of my videos, that's fine too. Basically, if you have an object, which in this case is a turtle, and the top light is blue or more cyan, then in this case I used cyan as bright, and the middle of the turtle is kind of like red and white, and that's like the original color, so it wasn't as affected. And the dark parts are going to be green. So, for example, there could be a lot of green plants underneath the turtle, and then a lot of cyan light at the top. The light in the water is very diluted. It's very soft light. There's not a lot of hard shadows in there, so it's always a good idea to think about hue variation. So instead of using black and making the shadows harsh, just try to change the hue into more darker hues, and that will help you to make the image more believable. In this case, I used green as dark and more blue and cyan as bright. But in general, it depends on the situation. Red and yellow are more warm and more bright, and then blue, cyan, and purple are kind of like darker parts. So it's really up to you. Look at the reference, look for those colors, look for those hue changes, and that will help you to create a better image. Another tip I have is obviously looking for form. So if you have the reference image, literally just pull it in Clip Studio Paint, draw on top with any very strong brush, and try to find the shape of the animal, like where the sphere is coming, or maybe there's like a cylinder or like something like very simplistic, and it's gonna kind of look like the video game polygon thing. So but you don't have to follow like the rules of how actual 3D model looks like. Just find something that is more feels like intuitive and easy for you to find. So, and if you can't find it, maybe find like a better reference that shows that a lot more, so that you can focus on that. And then you can try to transfer this into your own painting, like, oh, this is a sphere and this is how you shade a sphere, and then you kind of just like break down things step by step. As you can see, I also use that on the shell. So when I sketch, when I use the flat brush, that is the main thing I look for, the show form, show all of that through the sketch, so that I don't have to worry about it too much when I actually get to painting. And one other tip I have is, because the sea animals, they have a lot of scales and little textures and things like that, I really recommend doing it very last minute. So for example, if it's the shell for the painting that I was doing, I added a multiply layer at the very, probably like mid to the end. I made the multiply with red and I set it to lower opacity, so it's separate from everything else. So I was shading it first, and then I put the multiply layer on the canvas. And the other part is that it has a lot of details. All those fishes and things like that, they have like so much detail. And one way to ruin your painting is to try to get every single one of those details. And I think that if you create an illusion of detail, that works a lot better. So if you don't know what creating an illusion of detail is, I'll probably make a video about this as well, hopefully when I have time. But long story short, basically, you don't draw every single scale. You try to draw a big one, middle one, and then a smaller one. And you kind of just like, where is the most important part of the painting? So for example, face of the fish is probably the most where people are going to look at. So try to add more scales over there. And as they go away into other parts, just make them smaller, more transparent, and less visible. And that will make you feel like there's a lot of detail, but it's actually not a lot of detail. So if that makes sense, I hope it makes sense. but basically that's like one of the main things that helps me to simplify the painting. And that's another thing, just simplify as much as you can, think about shape and form, try to do nice colors, and have fun. Honestly, picking a cool reference and finding nice images of animals kept me going, and I feel like I failed a lot but also learned a lot from these studies, and I really hope you do too. And let me know if you have any questions in the comment section. Hopefully this was a cool video, and hopefully the time lapse was useful. And thank you for watching. Have a cool painting, have fun, and just look for cool colors. That's the main thing here. Look for cool colors, find shape, and then try to shade it to the best of your ability. And if you don't like it, just maybe find another one, start over there. And I honestly, out of all four of them, I liked like one, and the other one was like semi okay. But I'm not gonna tell you which one I liked the most. But you probably can tell by the results of this, of like which one was better. But yeah, and also shade very lightly, I would say, because sea creatures, they because of the light and everything else, they have a lot of like gradients and small transitions that are never not very harsh at the end of the day. So do that, and hopefully that helped you. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Share this video if you find this useful. You can leave a like or leave a comment. Let me know, questions or anything like that. So thank you. Have a happy painting.